I'm not proud of what I did, but it felt too good to resist. The house was a tomb of silence, the kind that smothers you, heavy and cold. I stood in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter, the granite cool under my palms. The clock ticked too loud, too steady, mocking the stillness between me and David. My husband hadn't looked at me, really looked at me, in months. His eyes, once warm like whiskey in sunlight, now slid past me like I was a ghost. We hadn't spoken in days, not since our last argument. A vicious cycle of sharp words and sharper regrets. I wanted him to see me again, to feel the spark we'd had 10 years ago when we were young and reckless, when his touch set my skin on fire. But that fire was gone, replaced by a hollow ache I couldn't name. I needed to escape, just for a night. I grabbed my coat, the wool scratching against my skin, and shoved my phone into my purse. The door slammed behind me, a sound that felt final, like a chapter closing. The bar down the street was a refuge, its neon sign buzzing faintly in the autumn drizzle. I pushed through the door, the air thick with the scent of whiskey and stale beer, the hum of chatter a balm to my frayed nerves. I slid onto a bar stool, my black dress clinging to my thighs, and ordered a gin and tonic, the glass sweating in my hand. That's when I saw him. He was leaning against the bar, a stranger with dark hair curling at the nape of his neck, his eyes a deep, stormy gray that caught the dim light like a secret. He turned, and our gazes locked. My breath hitched, a jolt running through me like I'd touched a live wire. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice low, smooth as aged bourbon. I laughed, more reflex than joy, and nodded. You could say that. His name was Ethan. He didn't ask why I was there, alone, at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. Instead, he slid a drink my way, his fingers brushing mine as he passed the glass. The touch was electric, a spark that woke something dormant inside me. We talked about nothing, about everything. The music, the rain, the way the city never sleeps. His laugh was warm, his smile crooked, and every time he leaned closer, I felt the air shift, like the world was tilting toward him. I wanted to stay in that moment, suspended in the heat of his attention. But the weight of my life pressed down David, the silence, the years of fading love. I should have left then, gone back to the cold house and the cold bed, but Ethan's hand grazed my arm, and I shivered, my body betraying me. "I could use some company tonight," he said, his voice a quiet dare, his eyes searching mine. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and longing. I knew what he was offering. I knew what I was risking. "I think I'd like that," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. They tasted like freedom, like danger. He stood, offering his hand, and I took it, my fingers trembling in his warm grip. As we left the bar, the rain cool against my skin, I felt alive for the first time in years. But in the back of my mind, a voice whispered, "What are you doing, Claire?" Ethan's apartment was a world away from the bar's dim chaos. It was clean, minimal, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city's restless lights. The air smelled faintly of cedar and leather, and a soft jazz record played, its notes curling around us like smoke. I stood by the window, my reflection a stranger in the glass, while Ethan poured 2 glasses of red wine. My pulse raced, every nerve awake, as if my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to. He handed me a glass, his fingers lingering on mine, and I felt that spark again, sharper this time. "You're not what I expected to find tonight," he said, his voice low, his eyes tracing the curve of my jaw. I wanted to ask what he meant, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I sipped the wine, its warmth spreading through me, loosening the knot in my chest. We sat on his couch, close enough that I could feel the heat of his body. He asked about my life, not the big things, not David, but the small ones, the books I loved, the music that moved me, the dreams I'd tucked away. I hadn't talked like this in years, hadn't felt seen in years. With every word, every glance, the distance between us shrank until his knee brushed mine, and I didn't pull away. When he leaned in, his breath warm against my cheek, I froze. His lips hovered near mine, a question hanging in the air. I could have stopped it. I could have stood, walked out, gone back to the life I knew. But I didn't. I closed the gap, my lips meeting his, and the world exploded into sensation. His kiss was slow, deliberate, like he was savoring every second. His hands slid to my waist, pulling me closer, and I melted into him, my body waking under his touch. The kiss deepened, urgent now, and I felt a hunger I'd forgotten I could feel. His fingers traced the hem of my dress, slipping beneath to find bare skin, and I gasped, the sound swallowed by his mouth. My hands found his shirt, fumbling with buttons, desperate to feel more of him. He pulled back, his eyes dark with desire. "Is this what you want, Claire?" he asked, his voice a low growl. "Yes," I whispered, my voice trembling with need. I didn't care about tomorrow, about David, about the consequences. I wanted this, him, now, here. He lifted me, my legs wrapping around his waist, and carried me to his bedroom. The city lights blurred outside, but all I saw was him. All I felt was the fire between us. As he laid me on the bed, his hands exploring every inch of me, I felt a pang of guilt, sharp and fleeting, but it was drowned out by the rush of his touch, the way his lips trailed down my throat, the way my body arched into his. I was alive, burning, and for the first time in years, I wasn't invisible. But as our bodies moved together, a question lingered. How far will you go, Claire, before you can't come back? The room was dark, save for the soft glow of city lights filtering through the blinds. Ethan's body pressed against mine, his skin hot, his breath ragged. Every touch was a spark, every kiss a flame, and I was consumed by it. My dress lay discarded on the floor, my inhibitions with it. His hands were everywhere, my waist, my thighs, my chest, each movement deliberate, possessive, yet tender. I gasped as his fingers found the edge of my lingerie, teasing, then slipping beneath, and my body trembled, aching for more. "You're beautiful," he murmured, his voice thick with want, his eyes locked on mine. I felt exposed, not just physically, but emotionally, like he could see every crack in my armor. I wanted to hide, to run, but his touch anchored me, pulling me deeper into the moment. My hands gripped his shoulders, nails digging into his skin, urging him closer. I needed this, needed him, to fill the emptiness I'd carried for too long. He moved slowly at first, his body aligning with mine, and when he entered me, the sensation was overwhelming. A mix of pleasure and something deeper, something dangerous. My breath caught, my body arching to meet his, and I lost myself in the rhythm of us. Every thrust, every touch pushed me closer to an edge I hadn't known existed. I wasn't Claire, the wife trapped in a silent marriage. I was just Claire, alive, wanted, free. But freedom comes at a cost. As our bodies moved together, the world outside crept back in. David's face flashed in my mind, his cold eyes, his indifference and guilt clawed at me. I pushed it away, focusing on Ethan's warmth, his strength, the way he made me feel whole. But the guilt lingered, a shadow at the edge of my pleasure. What was I doing? This wasn't just a night out. This was a betrayal, a line I couldn't uncross. Ethan sensed my hesitation, his movements slowing. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft, his hand cupping my face. I nodded, but the lie felt heavy. I wasn't okay. I was unraveling, caught between desire and duty, between who I was and who I wanted to be. I pulled him closer, kissing him fiercely, as if I could drown the doubts in his touch. The night stretched on, a blur of heat and need. When it was over, we lay tangled in his sheets, my skin still buzzing, his arm draped over me. The silence was different here, warm, alive, not like the cold void of my home. But as I stared at the ceiling, the weight of what I'd done settled over me. I'd crossed a line, and there was no going back. What would I tell David? Could I face him, knowing what I'd done? And worse, did I even want to? Morning light crept through the blinds, painting Ethan's room in soft gold. I lay beside him, his breathing steady, his arms still around me. My body ached, a delicious reminder of the night, but my heart was heavy. The high of last night was fading, replaced by a gnawing dread. I'd wanted to feel alive, and I had, but at what cost? I slipped from the bed, careful not to wake him, and dressed quickly, my hands shaking as I buttoned my dress. I stood by the window, the city waking below, and felt the full weight of my choices. I'd betrayed David, but more than that, I'd betrayed myself. I'd wanted to escape the silence, to feel seen, but this wasn't the answer. Or was it? Ethan had given me something I'd lost: desire, connection, a reminder of who I could be. But I couldn't stay here, in this bubble of stolen moments. I had to go back, to face the life I'd left behind. I left a note, "Thank you." I slipped out, the door clicking softly behind me. The walk home was a blur, the air cold against my skin. The city's noise a stark contrast to the quiet of Ethan's apartment. When I stepped into my house, it felt smaller, the silence louder. David was in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, his eyes flicking to me, then away. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice flat. "Out," I said, the word heavy with everything I couldn't say. He didn't push, didn't care enough to. And that hurt more than anything, the realization that he'd stopped fighting for us long ago. I wanted to scream, to tell him everything, to make him see me. But I didn't. I couldn't. The days that followed were a haze. I went through the motions, work, home, sleep, but Ethan lingered in my mind, his touch a ghost on my skin. I didn't call him, didn't go back to the bar. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd glimpsed something real, something I'd been starving for. I wanted to be that woman again, the one who felt alive, who took risks, who wasn't afraid to want. One night, David came home late, his eyes tired but softer. "We need to talk," he said, and my heart sank. Did he know? Had he sensed the change in me? We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd gripped the counter nights ago, and he spoke, not about Ethan, but about us. About how we'd lost each other, how he wanted to try again. His words were tentative, vulnerable, and for the first time in months, I saw the man I'd married. I didn't tell him about Ethan. I couldn't, but as we talked, I realized something. I wasn't proud of what I'd done, but it had woken me up. It had shown me what I was missing, what I deserved. And maybe, just maybe, David and I could find that again. Or maybe I'd have to find it alone. Either way, I was done being invisible.